Cynthia, before we came into this 2026, I think I'm getting back. Something is pulling me back to 2025. I think that is something that maybe took place. So maybe it is. It's like it's stuck so much in our minds. Maybe. And before we started off this, I just wanted to see some of the very biggest episodes that maybe took place over 2025. Maybe coming to the end of 2025, and we saw some of the things that maybe we can remind our audience or viewers is that we had elections of Tanzania. We had CS Jirongo death, and he was also buried. Raila Odinga also died. And a lot of things came on, and one thing so spectacular that we don't have to forget is about the kind of road congestion that we've seen looking at maybe from the end of November 2025 to the end of actually 5th of January 2026, whereby we're looking at people being very careless on the roads. And I think that those are some of the things maybe I noted so keenly, and that we, as we skip or even as we push into a new year, we have to be very careful, and we have to know how we need to be handling issues.
Yeah, it's 2026, the year which has largely been termed as a campaign year in the run-up to 2027 elections, so the politics are quite high already with just 12 days into the year. So I'd love to hear from you this morning, because we'll be having an amazing panelist later on, two of them who will be joining us right here to talk about, you know, the rumbles within ODM party, the school placements debate, as well as the conversations around IBC chairperson on whether he should resign or not. So as I said, it's a promising show. So do talk to us across our feedback lines this morning. We're streaming this broadcast live. And let's get this show started, shall we? Now, the Democracy for Citizens Party leader Rigathi Gachagua has strongly condemned President William Ruto, accusing him of using police officers to harass and intimidate him 1 year after his impeachment.
Speaking during a church service in Gatundu South, the former deputy president claimed that the head of state continues to deploy excessive force to disrupt his activities, including sending police to churches where he attends prayers.
He called on President William Ruto to stop what he described as political persecution and allow him to engage freely with the public.
Gachagua cited a recent incident at APC Kimorio Church in Gatundu South constituency, where police officers reportedly lobbed tear gas at congregants during a church service he was attending.
Gachagua termed the incident unjustified and said such actions undermine freedom of worship in democratic space.
Na mimi nataka nikuulize William Ruto, wewe siku mlikosana na Uhuru Kenyatta for 5 years, alikubalia wewe kutembea hapa mlimani, si ndio? Alimzuia. Mbona wewe unatuzuia kutembea nyumbani kwetu? Uhuru Kenyatta never stopped you from coming to the mountain. Despite your differences, he allowed you free movement in the country. Here in the mountain, you are here more than he was. He never sent goons, he never sent police to stop you from coming to the mountain. Ukituma wahuni, mambo yako hapa to these people. The more you apply violence against the mountain people and their leaders, the more they hate you and the more determined they are to send you home. Please grow up, uachane na hii tabia. Na nyinyi waheshimiwa Bwana Kagombe, hii watu ya Kemoria walikuchagua. Mbona unatumana wapigwe na hao ni wazazi wako? Moses Kuria, hii watu ya Gatundu walikuchagua siku mingi. How would you send goons to fight the people who elected you? Pewa pesa na William Ruto. Mtauza watu wenu for how long? It is very embarrassing that viongozi wetu hapa Kiambu wamekuwa watumwa wa William Ruto, wanapewa pesa kupiga watu wao. Lakini mimi nataka niseme, nikisikiza wananchi kuanzia jana, our people will not allow this nonsense anymore. Na nyinyi polisi, kuliko kuja kulinda Wakristo, mnalinda wakora. Si mungeondoka hiyo wakora waonano na hao na wananchi? Why are you defending criminals? Why? William Ruto, why are you sending criminals here to fight people? And then IG Kaja, you said police to defend criminals.
At the same time, Rigathi Gachagua has come to the defense of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta following recent attacks by leaders allied to the Orange Democratic Movement.
Speaking during a church service in Katundu South constituency, Gachagua said Uhuru Kenyatta is a retired head of state and deserves respect from all political players, regardless of party affiliation.
He criticized ODM leaders for what he termed as misplaced attacks on the former president, urging them instead to direct their grievances at President William Ruto.
Gachagua accused the head of state of attempting to take control of the ODM party, a move he said has triggered internal political tensions.
Na mimi niambie hiyo watu ya ODM, msitumiwe na Ruto kutukana Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta alijaribu kusaidia nyinyi, kusaidia baba apate uongozi. Alimsaidia hapa Mlimani na 1.3 million votes. Nyinyi wenyewe mkakosa kwenda kupiga kura, mkaanguka. Kwa hivyo msilaumu Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Shida ya ODM ni William Ruto. Ameamua ataigawanya na ataimaliza. Amemwambia Hassan Joho ademand kuwa apate leader ndio anyimwe, aende aanzishe chama ya Pwani au ODM Pwani. Amemwambia Oparanya aende ademand kuwa apate leader ndio anyimwe, aende aanzishe chama huko Western. Amesema ODM anataka ibaki chama cha Wajaluo. Kwa hivyo nyinyi kama ODM, shida yenu sio Uhuru Kenyatta. Shida yenu ni William Ruto. Nyinyi mmekaa na yeye, mjue vile mtasaidiana na yeye. Sisi alikuwa hapa katudanganya, tumewachana na yeye. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka Uhuru Kenyatta apewe heshima. Na mimi natakia Uhuru very peaceful retirement. Na ako na haki as a leader kama Mkenya to associate with anybody that he wants, because that is his democratic right. Sisi hatusumbui Uhuru saa hii, tunasukuma kazi. Lakini tukiona kimeumana tunamhitaji huko mbele, nitamuagiza yeye atoke retirement akuja tusaidie. Wangapi wakisema kikiumana tumuite akuja tusaidie? Lakini for now we are managing and we are okay.
President William Ruto has affirmed that politics and falsehoods will not affect the strong relationship he has built with the people of Nyeri County and the wider Mount Kenya region.
He spoke during a church service at SEK St. Paul's Church, Kariki, Nodhaya, Nyeri County on Sunday, and the president said his bond with the residents is grounded in a solid transformation agenda and emphasized that his focus remains on delivering key development programs agreed during the 2022 campaigns.
Asanteni sana kwa kunikaribisha hapa Nyeri tena, na mimi nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba ile urafiki ambayo tumejenga ni urafiki yenye iko na msingi. Najua kuna watu wanafikiria ya kwamba wanaweza kulete siasa ndogo ndogo, kelele ati waharibu ile msingi tumejenga. Hiyo haiwezekani. Watafute kazi nyingine ya kufanya. Hii tunatembea pamoja. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Mimi ni rais wa Kenya leo kwa sababu ya kura zenu. Nyinyi mnajua hivyo? Ile serikali mimi naendesha leo ni nyinyi mmenipatia nafasi ya kuendesha hiyo serikali. Na hiyo serikali ambayo mimi naendesha, tuko na maagano na nyinyi. Mliniambia nishughulikie mambo ya elimu, nipange mambo ya kilimo, nipange mambo ya biashara, nihakikishe barabara iko sawa, nipange mambo ya stima, na mimi najua mtihani iko 2027. Si ndio? Na kila mtu si atapimwa na ile kazi amefanya. Kwani huku Nyeri mnachagua watu kwa sababu ya sura? Si mtu anachaguliwa kwa ile kazi atafanya? Awe ni MCA, awe ni mbunge, awe ni governor, awe ni senator, si ni kazi? So tutakutana huko. Wale wa matuzi na makelele na fitina na vitimbi tutakutana huko mbele. Ama namna gani watu wa Nyeri? Neguo kana tiguo. Tumekubaliana ya kwamba ni vyema tuunganishe watu wote katika taifa letu. Tuondoe mipaka ya chama, tuondoe mipaka ya kabila, sehemu, county, sisi wote tuungane. Nyinyi mnajua nilikuwa waziri wa kilimo wa Mwai Kibaki. Mko na hiyo habari? Mimi nilikuwa waziri wa kilimo wa Mwai Kibaki. Na wakati nilikuwa waziri wa kilimo wa Mwai Kibaki, sio eti nilikuwa nimechaguliwa na yeye kwa chama moja, hapana. Tulikuwa tumechaguliwana chama tofauti. Mzee Mwai Kibaki hakujali ya kwamba nilikuwa nimechaguliwa na chama ingine, alinipatia nafasi ya kuwa waziri wa kilimo katika serikali ya Kenya. Na vile vile mimi nikasema vile Kibaki alinifanyia, hata ingawaje mimi si kuwa mtu wa chama yake.
The National Construction Authority has reported a tragic construction incident at a residential site in Karen, Nairobi County that left 2 people dead, 2 critically injured, and 7 others were minor injuries.
The accident occurred on Saturday, 10th January 2026, at approximately 4:30 p.m. at Gongview Lane, Karen Ward, within Langata Sub-County.
The site was hosting a 1-story residential development under construction.
And according to preliminary assessments, the incident happened during concrete casting works at the carport area when the formwork system reportedly collapsed under the weight of fresh concrete.
All injured persons were quickly evacuated to a nearby hospital for medical attention.
The registered owner of the plot is listed Moses Nyakiongora.
In a statement sent by EBN TV, the authority noted that the construction project was not registered with the authority and has since been suspended under suspension order number 165431, dated 10th January 2026. All right, let's get into the newspapers, the Daily Nation and the Standard. It's such an important week, by the way, with the grade 10 learners who will be joining their respective schools as they transition to senior schools. The 2663 actually mode of education, that is the competency-based education, and this is such an important Monday morning. So I will be taking you through the Daily Nation as Jeff takes you through the Standard newspaper. Now, Nation speaks of why we won't be joining grade 10 as thousands of students report to their new schools today. A different reality confronts many of their peers across the country. Despite excelling in the Kenya Junior School Education Assessment, they now face a painful truth. Their academic success may not lead to progression to senior school because their families cannot afford school fees. Now, with the transition of JSS to senior schools, junior secondary schools to senior secondary schools, has put in perspective the big questions on, number one, do we have the facilities that accommodate senior schools, to which schools have made that investments. Something I've been talking about is, if you've taken a keen notice, is that we don't have high schools anymore. We now have senior schools with pathways. Talk about the human capital. Do we have teachers who have specialized in these pathways? Because if you're having a learner going through aviation at, for example, school A, does this school have the facilities to accommodate an aviation, subject. This means you're going to have a teacher that actually specializes in aviation. It may even require you to have a makeshift aircraft.
Yeah.
So do we have that? But at the same time, let's talk about the school fees as well, especially for parents, because the students may either go to day schools or to boarding schools. So do they have this particular money to take their children to this particular schools they have been placed in? Could be C1, could be C2, previously national schools, extra county schools, county schools. And so while we won't be joining grade 10, the biggest block is on the school fees issue, which, for a lot of parents, it's a nightmare. Not just that, but also, the preparations. Some schools may require mattresses. You've got shoes, new uniforms, new books, and so many more. So there are a number of learners, who have been talked about on the newspapers this morning, especially the Daily Nation, and they had an opportunity to join various schools, but because of the high cost of fees, they may not be able to do that if a potential sponsor does not come in place.
Okay. Yes. I always look at how our backgrounds look like, and I'm trying to do two comparisons whereby we're looking at the structure of a school, whereby you're reading, or even you're doing your examinations from a structure that is a makeshift looking like a cow shed, and then you're expected to pass from there. But if you pass from the same structure that is looking in such a nature, then you find that you pass well, but you find that there's no school, or even there are no favors that will maybe take you from the government or from sponsors that will take you to a better school, to change where you've been learning from, and maybe reflecting from the grades and from what you scored. But I'm looking at it, and such students who learn from such structures, you find that they perform very well compared to people who are taken to the group of schools
and international schools.
In such a case, it becomes so unfortunate for a country like ours, or even whichever country, and with the dreams of transitioning or even moving from Kenya to Singapore, and someone was translating this into Singapore. And I just want to quote the Singapore, whereby the education, and we said that education and health, they're very key in this country. So if you don't take care of the education system, and maybe from these young people who have learned from very worse situations, I don't think whether we'll get to the place we call Singapore where we want to go. So I think the government should dip in and make sure that they facilitate the education of these learners. And just to finish, is it last week? Story is not really and very well verified and confirmed that if maybe your student, your child was called maybe to Kisumu, and you just feel that Kisumu is very far, maybe from Makueni or maybe from Nairobi, you have to seek a position maybe in a nearer school. Now, what is happening, or what happened, and the stories that we are yet to confirm, is that maybe you have to chip in into your pockets and get something to make sure that you secure a space and a place nearer for your child, which makes us a bit, again, poorer.
Yeah, and we've had a conversations around education funding, and the fact that we've got so many leaders and they've got allocated kitties for education. Your MCA will have the opportunity to give a bursary. Your member of parliament will have the opportunity to give you a bursary. Your governor will have the opportunity to give you a bursary. And so why not just have all these funds into just one kitty? Let's call it education kitty. And if you look at the amounts of money, it could be in millions and millions of money, because some of the national government CDF, they not only just construct schools or develop other things, but some may also be used to issue bursaries to learners. So if you are going to have all these funds in just one kitty, we may as well have solved the big question on education and whether we can make it free for learners that are, from particular levels, if it's primary, or at least now the junior secondary schools or senior secondary schools, and then later on we can talk about the universities. So that is the top of the page. ODM convenes meeting amid Oburu Ulster plot. This is on the ODM party. There's one particular leader who keeps on saying, ODM was Baba and Baba was ODM. And so now with the, demise of Raila Odinga, may he so rest in peace, last year, just basically as well symbolized the death of ODM party, because it's been barely 2 months, but the infighting that we are seeing from key leaders, and now somebody's are planning to as well oust Oburu Oginga, pardon me, for the party leadership position. So he's also in the fight for his life in ODM party as well, you know, with the latest of just what has been happening within ODM.
Okay, we're looking at that maybe internal wrangles within ODM, and yes, it's very true. And someone was suggesting or even saying that we'll take like 100 years to see Raila being in like every page of our newspapers, and maybe that may look true, reflecting into what we are seeing. They plan to oust ODM, we call him interim, I think, interim ODM party leader, Dr. Oburu Odinga. And in such a case, he's been claiming that he's very young, and for this team to oust him, I think they're looking at a place whereby it's a kind of a satire, or even it is so humorous for Oburu Odinga to keep saying that he's very young in such a position. And because we're looking at even our own very president, Dr. William Ruto, is also eyeing to be in the ODM party. So this is to mean there is a way they are trying maybe to expand or even to oust Oburu Odinga to maybe get a fresher energy to the same, because as you see, ODM is like it is the apple of an eye to every person, because it is interesting and luring every person into it. And our president maybe, and someone Ndolo said, Ruben Ndolo, said, I think last week, that if at all President Ruto wants to be in ODM, he has maybe to resign or even to come out of UDA party so that he can be nominated or even to be absorbed in the ODM party so that he can run with it come 2027.
Right, and you know, that's also something that has happened on the Standard, which Jeff will be taking us through now.
If people know this guy,
I mean, I know a lot of people know him.
Junet Mohammed, I think is known not really because of his Suna South. Suna East MP, and he is not known for his participation or even his delivery, but he's known for him being so vocal when our president, the ODM party leader, before he retired to rest. This is Raila Odinga. He's been clinging on to him, and maybe he's been throwing every word and every sour word to every leader that comes in. So the Standard, the Kenya's bold newspaper, is putting is so roughly, and they say Junet's rough ride. And it's a retribution as the country gradually gets used to reverring to the country's most vibrant politician in past tense. The after effects of Raila Odinga's demise in October last year are turning into a nightmare for some who appeared to have hung onto his coattails to make a political career through ODM. National Assembly Minority Leader Junet Mohammed continues to be hit by myriad accusations, from never winning any nominations in Migori to using his closeness with Baba to cause problems for others, as some revive old quarrels. And there are two quotes. All these allegations are total rubbish. Ask yourself how much was required to pay presidential agents across the country who gave out the money. And this is Sam Atanti, Alego Usonga MP. And I was talking at the state, I was talking to the head of civil service, where Junet found in deep conversation with Felix Koskei. He got angry and asked how I got there without his blessings. And this is Karoli Omonti, Suba South MP. Yes, and I was saying we've known Junet Mohammed for a very long time, for maybe him being, I don't want to use the word mouthy, but in short, he has been so vocal.
Quite vocal, yeah.
Yes, maybe in every activity. And we once, when Raila died, and this is last year, 15th of October 2025, a lot of people were branded or named political orphans. In that end, you can see it from the first page of the Standard, where it is calling, they're saying that they've been working, hanging onto his coattail. This is to mean Raila has been a big umbrella to a good number of politicians, maybe, and we're looking at Junet has never won any nominations. This is to mean he's been using Raila to make sure that he just posted into any position without maybe the qualifications or even without fulfilling what a political leader or a politician eyeing for any seat is supposed to maybe acquire. And now they're calling it a rough ride for Junaid Mohammed, and I'm feeling like trying to put the same statement that he's becoming a political orphan, whereby without Raila maybe aiding them or even trying to lead them politically, this is to mean maybe they are lost, and maybe the forest that they are going in, this is to mean they will never bring light to them. So this is to mean Junaid political move or even political road and route will not be easy from the time Baba rested. Yeah,
and you know, it was still the same Standard newspaper that I believe either last week or the other week, last week to be specific as well, talked about Junaid as well being a traitor. And you know, this is a man whose you know, vocal abilities can be quite you know, I don't know how to put it, but quite controversial, I'd say, for lack of a better word, because he's a man who's never really afraid to speak his mind, and he's got this way of speaking, and just his literature is quite interesting. He may be on the same category as well with Rigathi Gachagua in terms of their literature ability and how they speak. But you know, with Junaid Mohammed, a lot of accusations have now come to the forefront of the fact that he was almost like a gatekeeper to doors of power, you know, where if you go there and he's not taking you, becomes a problem. But at the same time, we've also seen, you know, accusations from his constituents where they say, you know, he's never really on ground, and he's focused more on his role within the ODM, or at least his role within Baba's inner circles, and forgets that he's the, you know, constituency representative. This means he represents people in parliament. At the moment, he's the minority leader, taking over after Opiyo Wandayi was taken to the cabinet. And so his role has become more at the center stage of minority politics, ODM politics. And that is why, you know, he's one of the leaders that has been beefing it out with Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. And so there's a Central Committee Management meeting today in Mombasa for the ODM party, to which, you know, key leaders within the ODM will be going, as well as representatives from ODM. The big question will be, is Junaid going to be part of that meeting? And if not, then, you know, SG Edwin Sifuna will be, you know, in that meeting. So what are the conversations going to be, and the direction ahead for ODM party? And, you know, will these two leaders be able to put their differences aside and, you know, chart a similar path way forward? And so Junaid is quite the man that, you know, anyone would want to have him on his side in terms of having that sort of support, because he's got his way with words, but at the same time, he's not the man you may want to have on your side, because he tends to say the wrong things at times as well.
Yes, and as someone was saying, that if you just want year 2026 to be a good year, you have to maybe zip a bit, you have to zip up a bit so that you don't be talking all through. Because I tend to trust that you may be so vocal in everything maybe that you see coming in, but sometimes we're looking at the umbrella that Raila was to him. So if sometimes it comes that you are speaking carelessly, I think there are some accusations that may be put against you, and that's what we're seeing. And maybe if you go to page 4 of the Standard, you see that State House Slap exposes Junaid's troubles in ODM as cracks widened, and controversy has followed the MP since 2013 when he first sought the Suna East. And so personal is the field against Junaid that a physical fight played out at a State House recently. So I was saying that sometimes you may be so vocal, but there's no indication as to why you're speaking. There's no indication as to why you're talking all this. And you did a comparison of him to Gachagua. Gachagua is, we can say, is such an independent guy, and maybe would us not rely on another person to speak out. And before he speaks out, I think he's got a lot of evidence of all that he's talking of. And if there are accusations leveled against anything, I think he's got the strength to make sure that he gives out the right evidence for the same. Yeah, so it's not about just talking, all that. So I think it'll be a rough ride for Junaid Mohammed for a good time until maybe he decides maybe to quit or even to regularize what maybe he's accused of to the normalcy of the political situations.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe just to mention page 2 of the Standard, as students from slums, insecurity, prone regions to tell their stories. And as we were talking of, maybe we call them these maybe someone being so unfortunate in maybe whichever side of their lives.
Yeah, and the privileged students,
And at the end of the day, you find that when it comes to the mental ability or what we call, well, that's a bigger word there, you find that these people are very abled upstairs, and at the end of what they finish doing maybe in school, you find that they're still disadvantaged because a lot of people are taking advantage of them. Because think of this, maybe you're seeking for a space in maybe junior secondary or maybe senior secondary, then you're supposed to pay for that position. So it brings kind of bad luck to you again after having maybe to afford all this, maybe your life it's like you're struggling all through from the time you were born. So you can read the same from page 2 of the Standard. Then new down as CBE learners join senior schools. That is page 3 of the Standard. Then page 5, MPs launch a probe into state 244 billion Safaricom stake sale. This is pulling all the way from 2025 today. So this is to mean we are not settling anytime soon to say this 244 billion maybe get back into economy and maybe assist in developments. Then the last thing, page 5, maybe part 2 of it, if twisted and fell, workers recall shock of current building collapse. And in there you can have something as far as NCA and construction and developments done in Kenya are concerned, because we are looking at how careless people are becoming, and mostly developers, and what NCA and NEMA are doing to make sure that if they have to foresee something taking place, where they have to approve, maybe they approve and maybe they don't go out to the site to see how the environment where you're maybe erecting your plot or your residential building looks like.
Right. All right, so those are some of the stories on the pages this morning. We want to take a quick break, but remember we've got a conversation coming up after the break on the state of the nation, especially in 2026 from matters education and the big debate that has been there, that Rigathi Gachagua has starred, as well as just the year ahead, how it's going to look like. So I'll be joined in studio by 2 of my guests, Moses Kimanzi, a lawyer and a political analyst, as well as George Ngaira, political commentator. Usiende mbali.
Stay here.